New data shows a sharp spike in the number of Bay Area families living in poverty. The nonprofit Tipping Point announced details of a new study this afternoon. It cites the Public Policy Institute of California that found in 2023 the poverty rate jumped 4% in the span of 9 months, and that more than 1.8 million Bay Area residents are struggling to make ends meet. That's almost 3 in 10 people.
In addition to the number of people in poverty, we also saw an increase in racial disparities. Black poverty rates jumped from 15.8% to 22.1%. Even more staggering, Asian residents saw poverty rise nearly 50%.
The data shows the spike of poverty across the Bay Area outpaced the statewide increase. Each year, Tipping Point publishes findings on state poverty. This group was founded by now Mayor Daniel Lurie.
And for more on those sobering numbers, we're joined by the CEO of Tipping Point, Sam Cobbs. Sam, good afternoon. Great to have you with us.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
I'm curious, are you surprised at the results? And was there a specific indicator, housing, childcare, maybe wages, that drove the spike more than others?
Yes, I am actually somewhat surprised by the results. And my surprise comes from just so large of an increase in such a short time. As you mentioned in the lead on, 4.5% in less than 9 months. That's a huge increase. But we also, what's really driving the increase is that wages, which increased 34% over the last since 2016, but cost of living has actually increased by 46%. And so that is across the board. That is housing, groceries in the last year has actually increased by 17%. And so that's across the board, housing, groceries, and insurance, as well as childcare. Everything is just so much more expensive now.
Yeah, you can see here on the graphic that we're showing that wages just do not keep up with the cost of living increase that we've experienced here in the Bay Area. The data also shows that the poverty rate increased across almost all family employment levels. And I'm just curious why you think San Francisco might be seeing the highest poverty rates. Is it only here in the Bay Area that we're seeing this sharp spike?
We didn't analyze the data for across the state or the nation, but I would assume that our spikes here are larger. There's a lot of prosperity here in the Bay Area. People are really excited as the Bay Area begins to get its groove back. We have tons of AI investments throughout the Bay Area, but that is also driving a cost of living. That is also driving the cost of living increases. And these numbers we're taking from 2023, and we actually know things are probably much worse now. With the AI-fueled layoffs that have already happened, we know that rents are increasing not only in San Francisco, but throughout the Bay Area. And so that cost of living, because of our economy is recovering, we're bringing more people back to the Bay Area, and that's good. But that is also making it much harder for people who are living here.
One of the numbers in the data we mentioned out of the gate, it was 3 in 10 people are struggling to make ends meet here. So that's really 30% of the population. That had to catch some folks off guard, I would imagine. And how does that rank with the United States in general?
So that is fairly high for any other places other than some of your deep South states like Mississippi, Alabama, and Arkansas. And so we're really beginning to be on par with them. And so the number of people that fell into poverty during the time we're talking about it, to put it into context, is 245,000 people. And so if you're thinking nationally, that is the size of Boise, Idaho. And if you're thinking locally, that is the entire population of Marin County.
Wow.
And so that's how many people we're talking about that are now in poverty that weren't in poverty 9 months ago.
Can you talk about race and how that plays a factor? I mean, are there particular communities where the rise in poverty was especially alarming?
Yeah, so the rise in poverty was across all demographic areas. And so we saw increases in the Black poverty level. We saw increases in the Latin poverty area. But the area that was really shocking is that among Asian residents in the Bay Area, poverty increased by almost 50%. And so almost a 50% increase is really unheard of, which means that we have a lot of work to do.
I guess so. How does the increase compare to what we saw during the pandemic or other economic downturns?
Yeah, so, actually during the pandemic, what we saw in the 10 years prior to the pandemic is that poverty was on a steep decline. And then because of some of the things that we did during the pandemic, we saw some of the sharpest decreases in poverty during that time. And so we extended the social safety net. We extended, there was more dollars in CalFresh and SNAP. We extended unemployment benefits. We did things around rent and put that in control for people. But then coming out of the pandemic, we saw a slight increase in that first year that we studied. And then this is a huge, massive increase. And so I think the 10 years prior to the pandemic are reasons to be optimistic because on some level, we know what to do. That was when, especially in the Bay Area, our economy was one of the strongest and probably the strongest that it has ever been. And we were consistently seeing decreases in poverty in that 10-year time period. It is only a little bit doing and coming out of the pandemic when some of those resources and some of the things that we were doing prior and during the pandemic began to get rolled back, that we are now seeing these slight and now this huge, sharp increase in the poverty level.
Okay, so then looking ahead, into what's next, what can be done? What are some of the solutions that you guys are looking at in terms of trying to reverse this?
So at Tipping Point, we're continuing to do some of the things that we've done before, but we're trying to do more of it and we're trying to accelerate our impact. And so things that we're doing is working to unlock more public funding for affordable housing. A big piece of this is in conjunction with grocery prices, is food prices, is rent prices. And so we're trying to unlock more public funding for affordable housing. We're also investing in quality childcare. Parents cannot go to work. They will not go to work unless their kids are in safe learning environments. And we need to increase the number of places that parents have to choose from. And if you think about that from a secondary fact, that the people who work and who are in childcare, they are paid some of the lowest wages of anyone in the Bay Area. And so that means they have a recruitment problem. And so how are we keeping pace with people and cost of living there, as well as continuing to invest in people who want to go to college and finish college? Because if anything insulated you slightly from this increase, we did see the lowest increase among people who have a college degree in the Bay Area.
Okay. We'll have to leave the conversation there. Sam Cobbs with Tipping Point, CEO there. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. Appreciate the insight.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Sam. Turning